I came to America, if I told you what I ate, you would faint.
Yeah.
What we thought was a healthy sandwich, the good juice, was... Hello, namaste, Zarna Garg here with the Zarna Garg Family Podcast. So excited to have you here along with all 5 Gargs where everybody's in the house. My youngest, my son who's in middle school, Veer Garg. My high schooler who's now headed to college this fall, Bridge Garg. My daughter who's about to finish up college in a year, Zoya Garg. And my husband of 25 years, Shalab Garg. Today we're going to talk about a topic that affects you, everywhere where you're hearing, where you're listening, where you're tuning in from. I promise you, you're affected by this. The price of food in our household. Why is every bill food? We take out, we order in, we Uber Eats, we Seamless, we Grubhub, we cook, we go to the specialty grocery store, we go to the regular grocery store, we go to the Indian grocery store. We even order things off of exotic websites that nobody's ever heard of because we've got to get this particular type of mango or that particular type of cherry or whatever other things. That's usually my husband. But what can we do as a family to bring down those bills? What are the tips and tricks that we're learning? How are these young people living today? We're going to get right into it. And who wants to go first with their...
I think I have...
My realization after having lived in the United States for as long as I now have is that in America, the way the food industry is structured, a person who is not wealthy cannot be healthy. Without a person who is not wealthy cannot be healthy. That's deliberately wrong.
that was a bar.
It is just extremely difficult to eat health. And this is not the case, by the way, in poorer countries. If you go to Mexico, if you go to India, if you go to Ukraine, there has a war going on, but if you go to India, if you go to Mexico, if you go to any of these countries where food can be had directly from its source, which is that you can go to a field and get wheat, you can go to a tree and pluck fruit, you can, or not yourself, but somebody, the underwriter of it, is selling it straight out of the fields.
But Shalab, America produces more wheat than any country on earth.
But by the time it reaches us, the human beings, the citizens of this great nation,
it's like just a bunch of
chemicals.
spraying.
it's a bunch of sprayed chemicals. It's not given to us. And the rich and the wealthy obviously know this, right? And in fact, the poor know this too. Everybody knows this, except that the wealthy create infrastructure and systems around it to access that food. I mean, at an extreme example, Bill Gates is the biggest owner of agricultural land in the United States. So can you think about that? A tech billionaire is the biggest owner of agricultural land in our great nation. Why? Why is a tech billionaire the biggest owner of agricultural land? Not just because of investment, because he doesn't want to eat anything that goes into his mouth that is not produced by himself in his own fields.
You're making our great nation not seem so great.
Thank you, Veer. Thank
I
you.
think I was trying to be
wasn't sure.
sarcastic, so hence I'm glad you caught on to that sarcasm. But I understand that this may be beyond the purview of this thing, but we are a rich country, and it just really sucks that it costs that much money. So what you say, and I don't want to get into my celebratory meals as part of this
We're
topic
going to get
discussion.
into his celebratory meals.
But at the same time, it is really, really, really expensive to eat healthy.
I agree with you completely. I would say the only way to be healthy, especially as a college student who maybe isn't spending as much money on food, is to eat so simply. You have to make food fuel.
So please
not
define
something
simple.
that you enjoy.
Give me examples of simple that are not expensive.
Yogurt, eggs.
But you're not gonna get the yogurt from the random Dyson or whatever that.
No, I get
my.
Isn't Dyson a fan company?
Dannon
or whatever, because it's not yogurt. Again, it is not yogurt what they're selling, right?
No.
You should not be. Once you get to that Greek yogurt that you like, right? That is that high quality and specialized grocery store. All of a sudden, little amount of yogurt will cost $9. Will it or will it not?
Mine costs about like $4, $3. I would say
for each serving, not like for
for each serving. You're right. I mean,
So for 2 bowls of Greek yogurt, like 2 big bowls, like that's a meal. Like for me, I just add a little bit of honey. Probably costs around like $3.50 for a bowl. Is that reasonable or no?
Yeah,
that is reasonable. But where do you get it from? Which
Target.
store? You get it from Target.
I got my rating. I got everything. Like
Your rating.
90 rating. It has a lot of protein. Good, whatever.
I mean, that's good. But I'm just saying it's a struggle.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a struggle.
It is a struggle.
You have to eat super simply, like oatmeal, chickpea pasta, things that like you don't have flavor and don't have any real body to them. You basically just have to eat protein, vegetables.
I would like to make it a little simpler than that. I would like to eat fruit that is natural and not laden with sugar and chemicals.
I don't think
Is that such a big demand?
I think it is. And I think to get it,
demand
and I think to get
America.
fruit and to get vegetables, you're right, it's extraordinarily expensive. Even, for example, to me, buying a salad makes sense to me and has made sense to me for years. Like my mom and I used to disagree about this a lot because she would say, why are you buying like a $13, $14 salad? For me, buying a salad makes a lot of sense because if you are a lot of those vegetables would have cost way more money. The actual time you would have invested into the vegetables would have taken so much time. And on top of that, it won't even taste good. Making salads at home is like such a pain. Right. So I, for example, spend I would say I probably spend, if I estimated correctly, like $50 on food a day, maybe.
There you go.
On average.
There you go.
Average.
So that
includes
I can accept that.
$50 a day?
Yes.
No.
on average.
Yeah. So
That sounds excessive.
that's $350 a week. So right there, multiplied by 4 weeks, let's say, give or take,
$1,500 a month.
that's $1,500 approximately. Now, $1,500 after tax income, that's about $3,000
Bridge,
per person.
$50 a day
So
is
for
an
a family
actual-
of four,
yeah.
you're talking about $12,000 a month on food.
Okay, Bridge, like just to put it in perspective, that $50 is an average every single day. It includes, for example, fruit. It includes, for example, milk. It includes all these things we eat. It includes protein shakes. It includes all of these different
I know,
meals.
but for one person, not for
one
four.
person. I'm saying that I think I may have overshot it a tiny bit, but I think on average
But
that's
Shalabh,
probably what
we
I'm spending.
spend more than $12,000 a month on food.
I get that. My point
I don't
to you
know
is,
how we do, but we do. I feel like everything we earn, we spend on food.
yeah. So I'm just saying that is
entire
because
time.
What
the
about
goal
like restaurants?
doesn't even include that yet.
No, $50 a day includes that for me
Okay.
because sometimes some days I'll spend more money and then it averages out.
Yeah.
But I would say I probably spend a lot of money on food. I would say my justification for spending money on healthy food is I'm not going to be spending money. I really believe that if you take all of your expenses and you try and whittle away all the things that just don't make sense to spend money on, for me, spending money on alcohol doesn't make sense. I would never spend money on alcohol. That's a huge expense for some of my friends, not for me. I don't spend money on luxurious vacations, for example. A lot of my friends who are in their 20s,
This episode is not about
but I'm saying that
budgeting. It's about food, right?
But I'm saying food and money go hand in hand. As you said, you cannot spend money.
So I'm not asking you to make a choice between how to afford the healthy food. The point is, how can you reduce the bill itself for food and still keep it healthy?
Or are we accepting that this is just the price of how it
Yeah.
is? Which
I
is
think-
also
Accepting it.
because if she's saying that, then that is something to consider. Because everybody in their own wage and age and money bracket is living with this stress, right? So the people who are making not a lot of money are still stressed out about food. The people who are rich are complaining about food. We know people who are like Upper East Side, 5-6 bedroom apartments who are like, oh my God, I can't believe how much I just
I mean,
spent.
when I found those cherries for $15 a pound, you gave me so much crap on it.
$15 a pound for
But like those cherries were finally, I found like a farmer who was selling real cherries.
He was not a farmer. He was an actor with a hat.
But it costs $15 a pound.
No, but-
and you get it for $3 or $4 a pound. It's not cherries. You're just eating. I don't even know what you're eating.
And I think that's part of it. Like we used to, when we grew up, when we first came here, we ate sandwiches made with white bread.
Wow,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, we did. In fact, when I was new in America, if I tell you what I ate, you would be like, oh my God. And it did irreversible damage to my body.
Why?
for
Hold
sure.
on, I'm confused. Why is eating sandwiches with white bread such a like?
White
bread
bread
is terrible
now
for
is
you.
the worst thing you can put in your body.
Is that like an actual thing? I still eat
Yes.
white bread.
White bread's really bad.
White bread has zero
All
nutrition.
bread is bad for you.
I feel like most of the nation eats white bread. Why
Yes,
is this like?
but
Not good for you.
that is contributing to the big
Most of the
national
nation
problem.
is obese.
So why is? Hold on, I'm still confused.
Yeah.
What is so bad about white bread?
White bread is the worst of the wheat grain. Nothing nutritional of the grain is left. Then it is added with chemicals and bleach to make it look white and have a consistent finish that's going to sit on a stable shelf all over the country's grocery stores for weeks on end. So you can imagine, like, there's really no
Just a bunch of
nutrition to it.
preservatives.
and a lot of sugar. A lot.
And,
of
Wait,
but
I have a
but
question
that's
for you,
how
Dad.
when we grew up, I came to America, if I told you what I ate, you would faint.
Yeah.
What we thought was a healthy sandwich, the good juice, was white bread with butter and sugar. We really
I mean,
thought-
that's partly your community too. I mean, I don't want to get started on your community does carry the most amount of disease even in India.
My community does not carry the most amount.
I mean, it is the most unhealthy community in India.
This is a man from UP talking. UP entire diet is potatoes, ghee, and what? Your mom used to list 4 things.
Wait, Dad, I have a question. What makes you think that those $15 a pound cherries are better than the $3 a pound cherries?
I can tell how my stomach feels the next day when I use the bathroom.
No, there is no truth.
I don't know.
Literally, the
It just-
marketing
your-
enters his mouth and
the
his
Because I
stomach.
feel like they can just get away with charging you $15 a pound
Yes.
and say that they're doing something different.
No, they
No,
may
no,
actually
you can
stand
tell.
there with
That
the
is not
heart,
true.
with the
That you can
When you're
tell.
eating real food from like
You can tell.
artificial food,
I
it's
mean,
different.
go to the emerging markets, right? Go to countries like Mexico and India and any of these countries that are not yet have enough infrastructure to process food. So most of the food that you end up eating is straight from the fields, whether it's grains or it's produced, or even European countries, which are very developed, but they have taken the pains to make sure that they don't allow, that are more socialist in nature. Go to Scandinavian countries, right, where they have socialized a lot of these things. So hence, they don't allow businesses to turn the kind of profit food businesses can in America. So they have to serve you more natural foods. And you'll feel like, I don't know what I'm eating. I don't think I've ever eaten a banana like this ever before.
Yeah.
Or I've never eaten an orange like this ever before.
I think one thing that Dad does really well that I've taken inspiration from is autopiloting your meals.
yes.
Eating
What,
the
like
same
pizza?
thing every day
Right.
for the
That
most
is
part.
definitely a problem. The choices that we have access to is a problem because then every meal becomes like, how do we optimize for taste? It's not supposed to be like that. I recently read a quote from the Indian cricketer Virat Kohli where he said, he eats food for fuel, the same way you did. Because first of all, just removing the decision-making fatigue around
Yes.
it is helpful.
For
Otherwise,
sure.
every meal you're like, should I eat this? Should I eat this? Should I eat
I mean,
this?
that's exactly why I went on to intermittent fasting. Because when I know that I cannot eat more than 4 hours in a day, it just simplifies my life dramatically.
Yeah.
Rather than watching what I'm eating every 3 hours.
Yeah.
It is definitely a productivity tool for sure.
Yeah.
Because now I know that I cannot really eat, so I just have to have water and coffee or whatever. And then when I do start to eat, I can eat whatever I want. So the decision making
Well,
does make
I mean,
very simple.
I don't know if whatever I want is
Okay,
accurate.
I get your point, but my point is still that there is a limit to how much
There is a limit. No, it's true.
can
and
eat in
if
4
you
hours.
eat any nutritious food in those 4 hours, you're just not going to want
The
other things.
non-nutritious one. Yeah.
There's truth to that. But like, what are you seeing in high school? What are you seeing in middle school as far as food expenses? Like, what do your friends do? What are some tricks and tips that your friends have?
You
for-
especially, Bridge, because you maintain yourself, you work out a lot, you're very careful with what you... No, you all are, not just you, Zoya is too, but you've only started doing it more in the recent years, right? Since the working out and making sure that what goes in your body is extra careful about it. And you don't even spend that much money on food. I see that you spend, probably on all 5 of us, you spend the least amount of money on food. So how do you manage it?
I have a good answer for this question. I actually think, so basically when my friend group spends our most money is when it's during the school year, because like you were in school for 6 hours, whatever, and like you're just bored out of your mind. You just want to eat, like you're hungry. That's just the first instinct. Like we'll go and we'll talk over a meal. So basically, how we limited the money is that we have one spot for food and one spot for candy, snacks, drinks. We found the spot for candy, snacks, drinks by testing all of the nearby delis, pharmacy stores, and seeing which one's the cheapest. When we found that, that's how we decided that. And we did the same thing for the food spot. We found an Asian place that does sushi, whatever. It's good food, and it's cheap. So that's how we found both our spots, and that's how we limited the amount of money we're spending while still eating food.
And Bridge,
Pretty
how about
cool.
you? What's your process with your friends?
I mean, with my
And on
friends,
your own as well. Just
I feel like I eat a lot more on my own than I do with my
Yeah.
friends. Honestly, at this point, I think
like I see you boiling edamame like almost every second
Yeah.
day.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've talked a lot about on this podcast and different episodes about edamame and like my huge appreciation for edamame. I think that edamame it's an incredible amount of protein. It tastes good and it's like healthy. I recommend it to everyone. But I mean, more than just that, like staying healthy and getting a lot of protein and like for a cheap price. It's not like I'm not buying food. It's more like I'm eating everything that mom buys. So like whenever she does groceries or something and ships it to our house or goes to actual like Target or D'Agostino and gets it, I'll like eat pretty much everything that she gets. Like most of what she gets, I'll finish. And more than that, like whenever like like she makes food or anything, I'll always eat that food too. Like I'll make sure to eat what's already there. I don't necessarily like, I don't like eating the same thing every day, which like I really respect that you guys do that. I don't like doing that, like eating the same meals every single day. I just think that gets like repetitive and honestly just boring to me. So I usually like can eat different things almost every day, honestly, except for breakfast. Breakfast I'll always have eggs just because I think it's easiest.
But that's great. That's already one meal.
But the
one
rest of the
very
day I
important
don't.
meal.
Like I will rarely eat the same exact thing every single day.
But I'm saying that even autopiloting that one meal is so beneficial.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't even do that, and I think that's a great habit.
No, I agree. But I think that like past that, like in the afternoon, I'll just eat whatever. Like if I see any sort of protein option, I'll just eat it.
But I want to speak to being a mom in all of this.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I have an opinion that I think a lot of moms and women who run the households will understand. I spend a lot of money on food, crazy amounts. I accept it. We are on the other end as a family. This is a problem we're all dealing with, but we are at an extreme end and I get it. But almost none of that money is spent on me for my own food.
Aw.
I have so much guilt over how much we're already spending that I end up eating the worst of the lot.
Yeah.
I don't buy salads for myself, which I probably should, and my doctor is begging me to buy. I don't know why. I feel guilty.
I mean, part of it is that
the cherries
it's the
that you
biggest-
buy, I save them all and I keep moving them from container to container. So you eat every last cherry. But why am I not eating the cherry? It's not like we can't afford it. But it's a mom's, and I've spoken to other moms and we all seem to have the same problem. That we all
Do you think
feel
you're being
guilty.
vegetarian also is a big problem,
The
right?
vegetarianism is a huge problem in America. We won't even go there because that's gonna like literally light me on fire with all the vegans and vegetarians. But this is a pure money thing. I'll tell you that moms have so much guilt about so many things that I buy, when Zoya comes, I buy almond milk. I will go out of my way to buy the cleanest, freshest almond milk, but I won't do it for myself. I know the things that he likes to eat. I don't know what it is. And if
I've
you're
never
a mom,
seen you eat a berry.
I never touch the berries. I buy at least 10 boxes a day when the kids are home and it's a holiday weekend. All 10 boxes are usually gone the same day. People ask me about pineapples all the time. What do you do with the pineapple? My kids eat
Yeah, we
them. My
eat
husband
them.
eats them. I barely ever eat one piece. I end up eating the worst in the house and it's a mental thing and it's not
Is
good.
it because you don't enjoy eating pineapple? Or berries or whatever? Or is it just because you want to save it for us?
No, I think there's a lot of guilt. Like, in my mind, berries are so expensive and I should save them for my kids.
Oh my God.
Like, it's a mental thing, and I think all moms have some version of it. And,
Yeah, maybe
you know,
dads don't, because I don't feel that way at all.
Well, Dad, that's
feel
not
like-
a good thing.
That's not a good
I
Oh
feel like
my
I should
God.
finish it first so that the kids don't scavenge
Oh
it after. You know, because by the time I come at night, I'm not going to get any, so I should finish it now. Because by the time Bridge and Zoya come home, they will just finish it, all of it.
if you ever wondered if our podcast was orchestrated, scripted, you know, edited in some crazy way, now you know what it is. Because we don't, and you know the crazy thing is, we have these crazy food bills and we are not an alcohol family.
At all.
Like, I can't even imagine what would happen if
Although
we actually...
you're overstating on alcohol, I only haven't been drinking the last couple of months.
but Shalabh,
But I
yeah.
was drinking.
But we've not been buying bottles and bottles
Here's
of this.
another-
That's not true, Zana. We did buy bottles. I would say that leading up to March, when I stopped the drinking, we were going through a lot of bottles.
You were having one glass a day at
I was
best.
having between 10 to 12 drinks a week.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I
don't
would have
think
drink to
that's
drink and a
Is
half
that
a day.
true?
I don't think that's true.
Shalabh, it
I
is-
feel like the only time I would see you drink is when we would go out to dinner or lunch or breakfast.
Yeah,
I feel
and
like it's
one
true.
glass that you wouldn't even finish.
I saw you drinking a lot.
Yeah, I did finish.
You did?
Yeah, I did have a lot. Last couple of months I have not been drinking, so you're right.
Yeah.
But I do think that I was drinking. Yeah.
I think, okay, here's another dimension to this is college food is interesting because it's the first...
Don't even get me started on. I'm sure it's just crap.
Well, I think dining hall food, for example, I've had a lot of friends who actually got really, really sick off of eating dining hall
So
food.
I have a question on that food.
Yeah.
Why is it that they have separate food for athletes and separate food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if
at-
other people are
yeah,
not people?
same.
At Stanford,
what
there is
kind
a
of a
separate
logic is
dining hall.
that?
Well, because
No, I
they
think
want to
all
feed their
the
athletes
colleges-
better because their
But like, how
athletes...
does that make
They need their
any sense?
athletes.
Their
They're
athletes
needing-
generate revenue.
Yeah,
for
their
the college.
athletes are actually working for the school. They are.
Yeah.
And in many ways, the athletes do need to eat more, obviously. And so they need to provide different options.
So that means the other people are just not deserving.
We're not. It's
But
just
Shalak, do you remember? If you remember when these kids were little and they were at a fancy private school in New York City, and all the parents were very upset because that school used to offer candy at checkout for money.
Yeah.
Aside from the school,
What?
dining
I
hall.
don't even
You didn't
remember
get
that.
to
Yeah,
that
you
year.
didn't
Because
get
you
to
were
that
too little,
year
yeah.
because we took you out sooner. But they were selling Skittles and candy bars and things for money.
Were people
And-
buying them?
Of course.
Yeah, what do
kid
kids
is
do?
not gonna buy it? And it was a preloaded card that your parents gave you. And I remember all the parents had kind of gotten together and demanded answers from the principal and said, what are you doing? Why would you sell candy to the kids or give out? I remember before SAT prep, he would give out donuts to all the kids for a sugar rush.
And sugar.
And
Each drink.
I remember parents reaching out to him and saying, why would you do this? And he had explained to us that food is a retail operation in educational institutions. Food is a different thing. You want to teach your kids
Yeah.
nutrition, you teach them at home, and we will do what we can, but it is also part of how we generate revenue.
It's
for
actually,
our
it's true. It's true in private institutions.
All these things just piss me off to no
It's
end.
so crazy. But yeah, Stanford.
Until recently,
Yeah.
actually, sorry to cut you off, until not maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 10 at most, do you know who sponsored the most vending machines in New York City public schools?
Probably a sugary drink.
Coke and Pepsi.
Coke and Pepsi.
That had to be, I don't know which politician, maybe Bloomberg, maybe somebody else, put an end to it and said, you cannot be selling. And what they would do just to addict the kids is that for a quarter, you could get the biggest bottle. Because they didn't actually care about selling that bottle. They wanted this kid for life.
So as an adult, she or he would continue.
They would
that
be
makes
like,
sense.
so you have to be vigilant at all times, which brings us back to the point that to eat healthy, you have to not only have money, which is a given. You have to have money, but you have to be extra
cannot be healthy
hyper
without being wealthy.
vigilant.
Can you please keep saying that so it catches
What?
on? You cannot be healthy without being wealthy.
You cannot be healthy without being wealthy. Okay. He's trying
He's
to
so
create
proud
a
of his
virus.
one-liners.
He's so proud of his
proud of
But can you
hashtag.
not maybe it takes on? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think in college as well, it's like it's its own, dining hall for many years. And if you're lucky, for example, I've noticed that the kids that are able to successfully get themselves off the meal plan are the wealthier kids, right? Because they have the luxury, and not only the luxury, it's not actually necessarily a money thing, it's also a mental thing, because the dining hall plan, at least at my school, is very, very expensive. It's like a crazy amount per meal, but the mental understanding that paying that $15 Sweetgreen, that is something that you develop at a young age, I think. Like a lot of kids, even if the math equates, the idea that you're paying money out of your pocket to pay for meals and to pay for groceries and to pay for those extra vegetables and fruits and farmers market, whatever, that's something that I think you have to grow up with, because I've noticed that even if the money actually adds up to the same, there's something about knowing that if you go to a dining hall and you can just shove food on your plate versus paying that same amount for a very concentrated meal, even if it's the same macros, there's something mentally there that doesn't actually add up. Another thing that I think is really sad is I think that because of how much money is intertwined with food, I do think that it leads to a lot of eating disorder culture in college. I think a lot of kids actually actively will get off the meal plan and then not know how to feed themselves appropriately and thereby develop really significant eating disorders. And that to me is really, really really, really sad. Like girls will say, oh, I just need like a few almonds and a few cherries and that's all I need in a day and like maybe one cheese stick. That's not food. That is not feeding yourself appropriately. And I think that's a really sad part of like eating in college as well.
But I don't know where the line is, because us Indians, we're used to grazing all day long.
Yeah.
In India, there
I
would
don't,
be.
but sure.
I know you don't now, but I'm saying culturally,
I mean, I haven't for 5 years, not just now.
yes, I'm talking about the culture of being Indian.
But that's here too. I see people grazing all day.
Yes, all
What
day.
is grazing?
Like
Just snack, a new
something
snack.
with coffee, then a snack with something else, then a breakfast, then another.
It just
snack,
keeps
then a
your
meal,
sugar
then
level high in your
like
body
you're
all day.
constantly like you're constantly putting things in your mouth. So it's
I
like,
love that verb, grazing.
it is. That's the word, grazing. It's
Like a cow, yeah.
Because you feel, the thing is that when you do that, everything you put in your mouth feels little.
Yeah.
so you feel like you didn't really eat much. You just had half a donut. Or you didn't really eat much. You just had like a bite of this. But of course, all of that adds up. And now we know more than the calories adding up is the sugar spike that keeps happening, which is really affecting how your body runs. But what are okay, so let's bring a positive element to this episode. What are some tips and tricks that we've learned? We've learned from you, keep it simple. Keep the palate simple. We've learned from you 4 hours, 5 hours, intermittent fasting has worked for you personally.
Yeah, and at my age. So I don't think it's a great thing to advise young people with, because I think it's an overkill for a young person who's fast metabolic and has the facilities of a very fast metabolism to worry about intermittent fasting. But anyone that's 40 and up or 45 and up, for them, that's very useful.
Make your social time cheap.
Make your social time.
Don't make your social time around meals.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's true. And do you guys have any tips or tricks to offer to our listeners and viewers? Like things you do to keep the nutrition high and the cost low?
Just, I don't know.
I know one.
nothing.
I'll tell one and you guys can think about it. I will say that I have learned in the last 3 months all the things that I will never eat. So just removing those things has brought an element of sanity to my mind. And I find that in America, everything is sweet. And I just don't like that palate. So I have started making spicy water for myself. So my water has
Yeah, she does. She actually drinks spicy
ginger
water.
and pepper and a little bit of red pepper, like a little bit of mirchi, like chili. And I boil it and I drain it and I drink it. And actually, is so pleasing to my palate because I don't want to
But there's no nutritional value to that. So
Now
you're
that
not-
I'm thinking
No,
about
but
it,
it's making drinking water like a fun experience, and it's completely all natural. Ginger is a known anti-inflammatory, and so I have found different ways to make water fun. I'm not as hardcore as my son Bridge, who drinks just tap water all day long, and he's fine with it. I kind of don't like the taste of it, but what I have found is turning the taste of water savory and a little spicy has made it a lot of fun. I also use something in India, it's called ajwain seeds, which I don't know what the name of it is in America, ajwain, which in India you use as a digestive aid. Like I used to give it to my kids when they were little. You crush the seeds and you boil it in water and you drink it. It almost tastes like a salty fennel, and it's so good. So that is my big low cost trick for nutrition.
yeah, now that I think about it, there's just nothing. Because I was going to say buy food from like Target because the food is cheap there, but it's just filled with preservatives. So there's no answer without either
No, but
ingesting.
they do have produce and stuff too at a better price.
I'm
than
sure.
the
I'm
smaller-
sure that it's not like it's just sprayed down with chemicals. So what
I
I'm
think
gonna say is that, like, I'm sure that there's just no way to eat like food that has a lot of protein without just eating a bunch of chemicals, or eat foods that don't have chemicals without it not having nutritional value.
I think food is a battle. And honestly, one thing that I really think is out is this idea that the woman of the house needs to cook, prepare, and customize a nutritionally valuable meal for everybody in the house without anyone even realizing what kind of sacrifice that takes. Like, it is insane to me. This is something that I've learned from my own mom. Like, since mom has started working, especially, we have been very independently eating a lot of our meals, and we've been responsible over our own meals, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I know so many moms who painstakingly will go to the grocery store, buy the best ingredients, make these like insane meals, and then the kids will be like, we ate this yesterday. It is so insane to me. And
that's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. But in our family, for example, the way we've gone around that to take that stress away from my mom, who's working all the time and honestly cannot do that, is we handle our own meals. And when we can, we eat meals together. And when we eat our meals together, we outsource that to a restaurant, or we pay a premium. And I think this culture that moms should be the only ones actually orchestrating the meals and doing all that work, and they're not even being thanked for it. There have been so many times where I go to homes where it's just like, what is happening?
Nothing.
I have gone to a lot of homes where I've been a guest, and I've noticed that the mom does all this work. And I just feel like nobody really appreciates the amount of sacrifice that takes. And that is a full-time job. So I guess this is me just saying, like, either if you're a mom who's doing that and like you're a kid who's receiving that kind of treatment, you need to thank your mom for that, because that is actually like, that takes hours to do, right?
And then the cleanup after.
And the cleanup afterwards. I mean, it's just like, it's something that we never lived with because we have other priorities. But if you're living with it, I mean, that is like, thank your parent, whoever's doing that. And also, like, if you're a parent that's doing that, I have so much admiration for you, because that is one way to get around the food crisis in America. And it's just a lot of time. It's its own expense.
Bridge, any parting thoughts? Since you are going to go to college and study food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like any particular area of food beside? I know in a previous episode you talked about finding energy sources that are easy and portable. Anything else like that strikes you as this is a problem I would like to solve?
I honestly don't see the food crisis as large as the rest of you guys do. You guys make it seem like every single food is some sort of like death machine. Like yes, of course, some chicken is gonna have preservatives, but if you find chicken in a any sort of grocery store or something and it's raw and I take it and cook it, it's gonna be fine. That chicken's not gonna kill you. Even if I ate one of those chicken a day, that would be bad for me, but it wouldn't kill me. Like, it's not that bad. Some things are that bad. Like Coke, for example, is that bad. Or some like really intense, like eating steak every single day.
Or ramen with the salt content. Or
like
something.
some things are that bad, but some things aren't that bad. Some things you can buy like chicken and that's fine. Sometimes you can buy your own steak and cook it once in a while. That's fine. You can buy pasta. That's fine. I mean, that won't give you that much protein, but it is carbs at the end of the day. And if you like to run, those are very helpful. So there's different things that I feel like a lot of you guys are making it seem like every single food option is terrible and every single meat is terrible and like there's no getting around this crisis. But I think there are some things. It's a little bit more expensive, like my dad was saying earlier. Like it does cost money, but I do think that like there are ways to not like be destroyed by food. I don't think it's as bad as you're making it seem.
I understand that, and you're also optimistic because you're young and you're looking at the new things. Like, we are looking at the data. What has food done to this country?
Yeah.
Right? The data is undeniable. It's not a matter of us feeling. But thankfully, you guys are part of a generation that is much more aware. We, as we discussed in a previous episode, used to have Coke for breakfast. This was how people lived 25 years ago, which is unthinkable today. Right? So anyway, this has been our episode on food, the cost of food, budgeting, where are we buying, where are we selling. We want to hear everything you guys are doing. And as we finish this episode, we're going to conclude it with a round of good grades with Gargs, which is who in this Garg group gets an A episode from each of us for bringing the winning moment, the entertainment, the education, the emotion of the episode. So who wants to go first for good grades with Gargs? You'll go first?
I think that you get the A grade, Mom. I think that this whole episode you've been very good at like narrating through everything and like making very clear arguments.
Thank you, son, my oldest son. Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll give my A grade to Bridge. I think that, I like his neutral assessment that it can be like, I like the positivity because truth of the matter is, how are you supposed to live life if like the country of choice that you have and where you've chosen to live and things of that nature are given. So, if you're always going to just find a fault in everything that exists, at some level, you just have to make a peace with it and find ways around it.
Right. Okay. Zoya, Veer?
I'm going to give my A grade to Mom as well. This is my second A grade to Mom. I don't even know what's going on. I agree. She narrated the episode very well, but I also think that you bringing up the point that it is true. I never see you eating blueberries. I never see you eating the cut fruit that you painstakingly salt yourself. And I think that is not just a reflection of you, as you said. I think it's a reflection of mothers in America and how intertwined moms, food, and money are, because it just feels like that burden of critically thinking through, how do we actually make this happen, as Bridge said? Like Bridge and Dad just said, we have to figure it out at some point. But I feel like the burden of actually doing that synthesis is always on the moms, and it clearly is on you. And it makes me very sad, for example, that you don't think of yourself when you eat fruit. But I have seen that in cases, and I think that was a point that is really true.
Okay. I'm giving my A grade to Didi because I really respect your diet just for the fact that, like, I don't understand how you can just almost completely cut out processed sugar from your diet because of the fact of how addicting it is. Like, every now and then I'll always want a sweet treat. I don't understand. I feel like you always find alternatives that are healthy, and I really respect that.
I'm going to give my A grade shockingly to my husband, Shalab, because he taught by example. You know, we can do all the talking in the world, and I'm certainly guilty of it. I talk about everything, and then I've gone back and eaten cake and cookies and all of it. Shalab, about 5 years ago, decided he's going to do intermittent fasting, and he's only going to eat 4 hours a day. And it has now been 5 years, and he's just doing it. And because he prioritizes his food as much as he does, it has kind of made all of us in the family much more aware. And as we all know, this is not an easy path to be on. There have been countless meals that he has had to sit and sip water or just not show up because it's just too tempting to be sitting in that environment. But whatever he had to do, he has done to stay the course for 5 years, which is an incredible achievement by all measures, and not only an achievement for him, but an achievement for the Garg family.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from you guys, how you guys are tackling this problem. What are your tips? What are your tricks? We want to learn from you. Tell us in comments, invite your friends, share, like, subscribe, and can't wait to see you for the next episode. Bye from all the Gargs.
Bye.